Another pagan objection that I've been made aware of is that God only cares about Jewish people and not Gentiles, even in the Old Testament, let alone the New Testament. Now, I think that anybody who can pick up the Acts of the Apostles, or even pass their way through the four Gospels, will see immediately that this is not the case. In the New Testament, we of course see Jesus dealing with the Syrophoenician woman, initially testing her and then affirming her faith. This is in the Gospel of Mark. Also, we see the interactions between Jesus and the Gentile centurion. We see right here evidence that Jesus, who is the only begotten Son of God, that he cares about the Gentiles. And it even extends further beyond this, because contemporary Jewish culture at the time of the New Testament accepted proselytes and accepted God-fearers from among the Gentiles. In fact, in recent memory, there was the conversion of the Edomites under Alexander Jannaeus, admittedly at the point of a sword. Now, if Judaism at the time of Christ was some sort of ethno-religion that only cared about bloodlines, then how could it be that Alexander Jannaeus converted the Edomites so hard that within a century there was an Edomite king ruling over Israel? It doesn't particularly make sense. This is, of course, with the time of Christ, but this is also true before this as well, as we see from the book of Isaiah, the portion which everyone agrees was written in the 8th century BC, or the 7th century BC, that is, before the Babylonian exile. And the second chapter runs as such: "The word that Isaiah the son of Amos saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. And in the last days the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be prepared on the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow in unto it. And many people shall go, and say, Come, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, and to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall come forth from Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem." Now, if we understand that the Old Testament God isn't merely some sort of personified deity spirit that floats around in the same manner as Zeus, we understand that there's actually a very significant postulation here. In other words, this isn't merely the choice of the nations on their own without any kind of exterior influence, for as we learn in the Epistle to the Hebrews, that God upholds all things. Therefore, there must be some sort of cooperation between the will of the particular Gentile and God for this to even happen in the first place. This means that God cares about the Gentiles, even in the 8th and 7th century BC, before we talk even about any sort of Jesus coming on scene, or about any sort of Christianity even being more than a twinkle in the eye of human beings alive at the time. But we know for a fact from the Old Testament alone that the ethnic component of Christianity or Judaism is not imposed. It is not simply that God only cares for the Jews. It is not simply that God, when he speaks about Israel, is talking about an ethnic group. In fact, Israel is a collection of 12 distinct ethnic groups. When Israel is referred to, when Jacob is referred to, when even Adam is referred to, there is a concept known as corporate personhood involved, where there are people joined to a certain father. Now, this isn't something that is necessarily of blood. We even see this in Jesus himself, who is of the tribe of Judah by adoption to Joseph. This is something that is rather chosen, which to some extent can be of blood, which nobody I think would deny, because people are inevitably born into some sort of religious system, be it some sort of secular system or otherwise. But the ultimate concern is where somebody's heart is. To paraphrase St. John, "Out of these stones can God raise up sons of Abraham." When he speaks of these stones, he's talking about the hardened hearts of the Pharisees that are talking to him. So it's a conversion of heart. Again, to paraphrase Jeremiah, their hearts are uncircumcised. It is the heart that matters. That is not this idea of feelings or anything like this, but the very core of somebody's being. That is what is referred to when the heart is spoken about. And so those who are joined to Israel or joined to Christ, who is the new Israel, they are people who are joined by the heart, by the very core of their being, by their abiding in the faith and the hope and the charity of God. If you wish to learn more about this, you may be interested in subscribing to my Patreon, where I am releasing Latin texts, some of which go into detail about this kind of theology. Likewise, we will be talking at length about classical history through these Latin manuscripts. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that this has been useful to you. Bye-bye.